Hi, I'm Dave Pomeroy, and I hope you'll go to ForBassPlayersOnly.com and check out my interview and all the other great interviews that Jon's been doing over the last few years.
Hi everyone, Jon Liebman here. You're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com. Today we are with Dave Pomeroy, head of the Musicians Union local in Nashville. How you doing, Dave?
I'm good. It's good to be here. Nice to have you guys here in Nashville.
Oh, it's great to be here. Summer NAMM 2014. And we've been following you and your musical career for a long time. And a few things I want to talk about, but I'd like to start with your musical upbringing. I understand you were born in Italy.
Yeah.
Were you exposed to music there, or was
I was not. We actually moved away. My dad was military, so we moved around a lot when I was young. And we left Italy when I was 6 months old. So I think something got in my blood there that made me a little different from my brother and sister, perhaps. And I took piano lessons, and it was okay. And then I played clarinet in the school band, and it was okay. And then when I was in 5th grade, about 10 years old, they started a string orchestra. And so I somehow got it in my head. I don't know how. I was like, I think I want to play the cello. And so I showed up, and they kind of had a, I wouldn't say an audition, but they had, anybody who's interested in the orchestra, go to this room at this time. And so I waited my turn to talk to the teacher, and I said, I'd like to play the cello. And she said, well, you have big hands. Maybe you should play the bass. And I'm like, really? What's a bass? And then over in the corner was this string bass, and it was like that, oh, kind of moment. And so I started playing in the school orchestra.
Actually, it wasn't. Oh, it was. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so
you were how old at the time?
I was 10. I was 10, and it changed my life. I immediately just fell in love with it. The sound of it, everything, and playing in the school orchestra, bowing a lot of whole notes and those things. And then
German or French?
French. And then when I was about 12 or 13, I suddenly figured out that this was the same as that Paul McCartney was playing left-handed. And so we went to Zavarilla's Music in Northern Virginia, and I bought a Gibson EB2, the 2 pickup model, and bid farewell to my string bass, and just started playing in bands all through my teenage years. My heroes were, obviously Paul McCartney got me interested in the bass. Jack Bruce, I think, was the guy that really, to me, he showed in a way that no one had ever done before what the potential of the electric bass could be in a rock context, where a trio with equal partners, where the bass is not just the support system for everybody else to have fun.
Who else?
And
Jack?
Well, I kind of moved on. Well, Chris Squire and John Entwistle. I think I discovered Entwistle first, and then I loved Yes. I saw Yes a bunch of times, but Entwistle killed me. Just was so innovative and just so, and again, because Pete Townsend was admittedly at that time not a technically gifted guitar player, and he was writing songs, and so John had all this room to do all those lines, and definitely Jack Cassidy, Jamerson. Then I got into the jazz, and so I discovered Mingus, and I discovered Charlie Hayden and Ray Brown, and all those guys.
Well, it sounds like you acquired another upright along the way.
Well, it came back around. It was very interesting, and the guy that was really the bridge for me was a German bass player named Eberhard Weber, who I just absolutely, I saw him play. I moved back to London, and when I was 21, my dad, I left school after 2 years. I played in rock bands all through my high school years. Second year of college, I actually got in like a folk trio, and it was my first experience with kind of singer-songwriter stuff and singing harmony, which in the end was a great preparation for moving to Nashville. I have a lot of basses. I still have my old Gibson. I played G&Ls a lot. In the 80s, I got a pair of G&L L2000s that were really became, along with the electric upright, my main studio basses. And as I made the transition from being a road player and touring to doing session work, which is a very gradual process over about a 10-year period, I realized that, I finally understood what the Fender bass sound was about. Because I was a Gibson guy, I was a Jack Bruce guy, I was looking for that dirty, nasty, fat sound. But there's something about a way a Fender bass fits in a track. Especially, like you listen to the classic stuff, whether it's Jamerson or Carol Kay or Joe Osborne, it just has a way of poking into a track. So the G&L was a way for me to have the Fender sound, but still be able to be a little different from everybody else. I always kind of had that little Jones of being somewhat unique. And so I just kept collecting basses over the years.
The collar bass has become very popular.
Yeah.
Little U bass.
They're amazing. They're amazing. It's one of those things where, you know, technology came along, and that string, the strings that they're using, I think is the secret to that. And to be able to get a fundamental out of a 19-inch string is just incredible. And you know, when you first see it and you play it, you kind of think, oh, it's, you know, it's a toy. And then you plug it in, and you go, this is not a toy. This is real. And so I've had one since really very quickly after they first started making them. I got a fretless one, which was interesting, a challenge to play in tune just because of the short scale. But I love it now. I have 3 of them, you know, and then of course as the ukulele became hip again, with Jake Shikamura and people like that, you know, I think it was a natural thing for, you know, Kala to try that, and I think they really hit a home run. And you know, I've always been kind of a networker and a problem solver, and I started getting involved in the Musicians Union about 2004, and it became obvious that there was kind of a disconnect going on, and it was a generational thing where the music business was changing and the union was not. And it just, you could feel it just kind of separating itself, and it's like, man, somebody's got to do something. I'm sure somebody's going to come along and do something any minute now, right? And I kept waiting and waiting, and I kept asking more questions, and I didn't like the answers to the questions. And, you know, because when the answer is, well, that's the way it's always been, what's your problem? That's just not a good answer. It was really gratifying to see that the effort we made to change the culture of the union in Nashville took off on a national level, and now we've literally transformed the union into a much more responsive, responsible, forward-looking, proactive organization. And you know, it's a lot like being a bass player. You're just bringing people together. It's like you're Russian, you're Dragon. It's right here in the middle. You got to trust me. It's right here. And if you come here, we're going to get somewhere together. But if you stay over here and you stay over here, we're just going to keep flopping around. And so as long as I use those musical analogies, I can handle the incredible workload of the union gig, because it's literally, if there was such a thing as 25 hours a day, it would be a 25-hour a day job. It never ends. And what I love about bass players is that we don't fight each other the way that drummers and guitar players sometimes do. We want everybody to get along. It's like, let's all feel the love.
That's right.
And I definitely feel the love, and I'm so happy to be part of this incredible bass community. You know, we're all very fortunate. Thank you for your work.
Well, thank you. A great note to end on. Dave Pomeroy, thank you very much.
You
I'm
bet.
Jon
Thank
Liebman.
you, sir.
You're watching ForBassPlayersOnly.com.
That's right.
The day the bass players took over the world.